السلام على رسول الله وعلى آله وصحبه ومن والاه. My dear brothers and sisters, today we continue on our monthly topics. Inshallah, we're going to talk about a very special Sahabi today. But before that, I want to remind you the objective of these is to follow the Sahabas, go back to following the Sahabas instead of following X, Y, or Z influencer or famous person. And inshallah, teach our kids about these Sahabas so that they can become great men like them. So today, inshallah, we're going to talk about a man who the Prophet ﷺ called Sayyidu Shuhada, the master of the chief, the master of the martyrs. A man who had the title of Asadullah wa Rasulih, the lion of Allah and His Messenger. These are very special names not given to any man. So the man in question is Hamza Ibn Mottalib, the uncle of the Prophet ﷺ. Although he was his uncle, he was very close to the Prophet ﷺ in age. A small gap difference between the two, to the point where even when he was, they both were milk brothers and they were nursed by the same nurse. And inshallah, by the end of this khutbah, anyone who has the name of Hamza will be proud of his name, because the story of Hamza is one of the stories when you listen to it, you're touched by it and you're inspired by the Sahabi. So Hamza, to put you in context, he was a very strong, tall, good-looking man who loved to wrestle, loved to fight, loved to do archery, loved to do hunting. And that was what he was all about in the beginning. He really wasn't really interested in the religion. For him, it was hunting, archery, and wrestling. That was his life. So the story, nevertheless, he was a very courageous man, and he was a very good man before even entering Islam. And we will see in the story that of his Islam, why he was a courageous man who, even before entering Islam, used to protect the weak people. So the story of Islam goes by that he was coming back from hunting, and a servant woman, reports to him that his nephew got insulted very badly by Abu Jahl. And at that time, it was very early stage of Islam, so there was not enough Muslims to defend the Prophet ﷺ. So the Prophet ﷺ, when he got insulted, he didn't do anything about it. And Hamza, when he heard that from the servant, he got very upset. He asked her, "Awa fa'ala dhalik?" He had a hard time believing that Abu Jahl would insult him such bad insult. And he asked, did the Prophet respond anything to Abu Jahl when he insulted him? She told him he did not respond with anything. So at that moment he got very upset and he rushed back to Abu Jahl. Abu Jahl was sitting in the middle of the Mecca, between his tribe, between his friends, and Hamza hit him a very strong blow that opened his head and had blood bleeding. And at that moment he said, أتسبه وأنا على دينه وأنا أقول ما يقول. He said, how dare you insult my nephew, and I follow his religion, and I say whatever he says. These words, they came out of Hamza's mouth on the spot. He wasn't Muslim at that time, but he said that because he was enraged. And when he said that and he hit Abu Jahl, the people around Abu Jahl, his friends, they were about to go up and defend Abu Jahl. He told them, no, sit down, leave him be. I went too far with his nephew, do not hit him back. And because Abu Jahl, although he was a tyrant, he was a smart man, and he knew that these words Hamza said, they were just words because he was upset at the moment and he didn't really enter Islam. So that night Hamza goes back and he was confused. He wasn't sure if he entered Islam or not. So he makes dua for Allah and he ends up becoming Muslim and going to the Prophet ﷺ and telling him, you can, he said, أشهد أنك صادق فأظهر دينك يا ابن أخي. I believe that you have the true message, so you can go and spread that message to the rest of the people. And why is it important, this context where Hamza became Muslim? Is before him there was no one, there was not enough Muslim, and it was the first strong person to adhere to Islam. He entered Islam before even Umar ibn al-Khattab. So the tides changed when Hamza radiallahu anh entered Islam, because Quraysh at that time knew that if there was a war to happen or a battle to happen, they would suffer a lot of losses because of Hamza radiallahu anh, because he was a very strong man. And he continued his life in the same way of hunting, except that now he attended the regular classes at Dar al-Arqam with the Prophet ﷺ, and he was appointed as the guard of these seatings, and he used to open the door for anyone who would come and try to insult the Prophet ﷺ or oppress them. And so the story, what we learn from it is that he was a very courageous man even before Islam. خيركم في الجاهلية خيركم في الإسلام. The best of you before Islam, even after becoming Muslim, they become even better. And the objective is that we learn to speak up when we see something bad, you know. الأمر بالمعروف والنهي عن المنكر. We have to take example of Hamza, how he did that with the Prophet ﷺ, and to see how, and Hamza, once he entered Islam, he was very convinced of the religion, that he gave everything he had for that religion, and he was strong in his belief, to the point where, you know how the Muslimin, when they did the hijrah, they all went at night in a discreet way. Hamza, he went in the middle of the day when there was during rush hour in front of Mecca. He said, I am immigrating to the Medina. If any one of you dares challenge me, now is the time, I will take you up to it. And of course, everyone was scared. No one took up his challenge. But this is to show you how convinced he was in the haqq. You know, when you us we know that we have the right message. We know that the Islam is the deen of the haqq. So we have to stand on this deen and stand our grounds. So Hamza radiallahu anh, in the Battle of Badr, he had a lot of impact in that battle. He was the leader of it. He killed a lot of mushrikeen during it, to the point where he had killed 4 members of the family of Hind bint Utbah. And all of Quraysh were very angry because they had lost a lot of people, so they wanted vengeance. One of them was Hind bint Utbah, so she hired, or she told a certain slave called Wahshi at the time, who was a very good spearman. He told him, if you kill Hamza during the next battle, I shall liberate you. And which is what happened. Wahshi ended up killing Hamza radiallahu anhu in the Battle of Uhud. And in the Battle of Uhud, he ended up istushhida Hamza. He died as a martyr radiallahu anhu, and he was mutilated because Quraysh at that time, they had a lot of anger, so they mutilated the martyrs of that ma'raka. And the Prophet ﷺ was very, very sad when he saw the body of Hamza radiallahu anhu, and he cried a lot. He cried a cry that the Sahaba described as he had never cried that way before. So at that moment, the Muslimin were feeling so bad about this when they saw their martyrs mutilated, that they wanted to react in the same way in the next battle. They wanted to actually they wanted to mutilate the enemies in the next battle. And this is where Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala anzala an ayah وإن عاقبتم فعاقبوا بمثل ما عوقبتم به ولئن صبرتم فهو خير للصابرين. So if you punish them in the same way you have been punished. Do not exceed that. And if you are patient, Allah will reward you even better. And when that ayah unzilat, the Prophet ﷺ said, Inshallah, we will be of the sabirin, and we will be patient even if they mutilated our martyrs. And here you see how the Prophet ﷺ, even in the most intense scenarios, he had the sabr. Here we have to learn how the sabr of these Sahaba, the sabr of these people. We can learn a lot from it. Lastly, Wahshi, he ended up converting to Islam, the man who killed Hamza. Hind also ended up converting to Islam. The Prophet ﷺ accepted both of the Islam of these two people. Why? Because our religion is a religion of forgiveness. And Wahshi ended up actually killing Musaylam al-Kadhab later, who was another tyrant and who was a very big enemy for the Muslimin. So, inshallah, the objective of us learning about these Sahabis is not just to learn about them, but to try to look up to them and teach our kids these lessons, give them names that represent these Sahabis so they can look up to them and have a meaning. We can learn that our religion is a religion of samah, of forgiveness. Even the Prophet ﷺ forgave Wahshi, even though that man killed the uncle of the Prophet. He killed one of the closest persons to the Prophet ﷺ. Yet he still forgave him. You know? And so inshallah, we pretty much covered everything about Hamza radiallahu anhu. So as mentioned, the objective is to ignite in us this desire to learn and read more about the Sahabas, because we have to do this exercise of alone going and educating ourselves about this. Inshallah, tomorrow there will be a halaqah where we will go in more depth after Salat al-Maghrib about this subject. So I know it's the vacation, make the most out of it, especially the youngsters. Come, we want to see you there. سبحانك اللهم وبحمدك أشهد أن لا إله إلا أنت أستغفرك الله وأتوب إليك.